All right, Broadway fans. Well, Tony season is in full swing, and one of the hottest new musicals right now is Be More Chill, which is a huge hit, captivating audiences everywhere. And I'm sitting here with one of the stars, George Salazar, who is making huge waves thanks to one of his big Act Two numbers. George, you've been playing Michael in this show for a long time, since basically the Two River Theater production back in 2015.
Yeah.
How did you become first involved with Be More Chill?
Yeah. It kind of goes all the way back to 2011. I was doing Godspell, the revival of Godspell on Broadway. And Jennifer Ashley Tepper at the time was working for lead producer Ken Davenport. And she invited Joe Iconis, the composer of Be More Chill, to a preview performance of Godspell. And afterwards, we all saw each other at a bar. And Jen introduced Joe and I to each other and said that the two of you need to work together. You need to make things. And so we kind of on a really limited basis, like, ran in the same circles. And then Joe's show, The Black Suits, was holding auditions for a production out in LA, and I went in for it and didn't get the part. But Joe and I were chatting a couple of days later after my audition, and he was like, I'm writing another musical that I think you're perfect for. So I'm going to send you an email soon. We're going to start developing it shortly. And sure enough, about a month later, I got an email asking me to do the first workshop of Be More Chill. And at the time, Scott Ellis was the director.
Oh, wow.
So I always think about how if Scott Ellis had stayed on, we could have been at the marquee. But yeah, no, we started working on the show back in 2014. And, at the time, I was starting to do a lot of these workshops. I was developing a lot of new musicals, which is, I think, it's hands down like my passion, I think, is like having a hand in the development of new work. And I remember a day with Joe where we were learning Michael in the bathroom. And at the time, it was a lot lower. Almost like uncomfortably in my voice. And so I was like, hey, let's see what this sounds like if we bump it up a couple of steps. And so we did. We kind of played and then stopped and played it higher and stopped and played it higher. And then we came to the key that it's now in, which, my argument for that was that I think it heightens the stakes of the song when it's a little higher, both for me as the actor and for the audience watching. And so that's how it all started. We went into production at Two River Theater in Red Bank, New Jersey in 2015. And then the show kind of died. But we recorded the cast album, and the rest has become history, musical theater history.
Yeah, and it's the unique thing about this show, speaking of that album, is that it has, for those who are watching who haven't seen it, the theater is like a rock concert when you go in. And it's really tapped into a teenage audience that is responding in a huge way. And they responded that way largely, the fan base grew because of the cast album, the original cast album. What was it like watching that blow up? Because it's been streamed millions and millions of times before you even got to Broadway.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. So I had just finished doing The Lightning Thief off Broadway, which had developed a huge fan following because of the book series. And that show kind of gave me a bump in my social numbers. But then after the show closed, the numbers kind of kept going up, and then the fan art started like pouring in. And I was on this text chain with Joe Iconis and Joe Trace, and the three of us were kind of like, did you do something? Did you do something? Did you do something? Like, is someone doing something to Be More Chill? Like, what's happening? And it was really kind of mind-blowing, and also kind of like kind of a huge like mind game to a certain degree, because all of this crazy success was happening to this musical, right? And people were drawing pictures and paintings and making dolls of me as Michael. But I was like, fully unemployed while all of this was happening. So it was like, I was like cashing unemployment checks, but my social numbers were huge. So it felt, I was like, what's giving here? Would someone maybe want to produce Be More Chill in New York? Can we make this happen? And so, we basically kind of sat back, and watched the popularity of the show explode. And then it got to a certain point where the three of us were like, we need to like do something here. Like I kind of made social media like my second job. Well, at the time I had no job, so it was my first job. It was my primary job. And so I was so in tune with the numbers game. And it got to a point where in late 2017, so this is now 2 years after the cast album had been released. Joe Iconis and I asked Joe, I was like, do you mind if I start pitching Be More Chill to producer friends? And he was like, not at all. I'm going to do the same thing. Like, let's reach out and see what we can do. And so I had a meeting with a couple, and Joe had a couple, and we fortunately found Jerry Gehring, who has become our kind of like knight in shining armor in terms of bringing the show to New York. But it's been a really interesting journey, both for the show and for myself, because I, for a long time, felt like the job of the actor is to just go to the audition and wait by the phone. And for the first time in my life, I felt really empowered to kind of take matters into my own hands and be a proactive person. And that it was that team effort that I think really kind of helped get the show off Broadway and then eventually to Broadway.
Well, probably your biggest moment that people are responding to is Michael in the bathroom. And I just want to know, because there's such a raucous response, you get huge applause. What is it like performing that? And why do you think people have such a profound response to it?
I fell in love with this character from the minute that I read the script for the first time. And I, as a human, saw so much of myself in this character. So I grew up mixed race. My dad is from Ecuador. My mom is from the Philippines. And, growing up, I didn't see myself represented in television, film, theater, nothing. Like it just wasn't a thing. And so like for me, I didn't think that a career in the arts was possible, was a possibility for me. And for the first time, I sat down and read this script and introduced myself to this character and saw me in the young me in this character. And I feel really fortunate that I get to play a role that I feel like it's a once in a lifetime thing where the actor and the character kind of fuse in this really fortuitous way. I feel like in some ways Michael is kind of has become like my soulmate. But performing that song, I've sung it close to 400 times in performance over the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. And it never gets old. It constantly feels fresh and new. I continue to find new moments. The music that Joe has written and the lyrics that he's written and the character that both he and Joe Trace have created is so rich, and it's just abundant in possibility. And so playing the character is literally a dream come true. I am seeing this song and this character resonate with this generation of young people, which, by the way, is a generation that is, I think, one of the most impressive groupings of young people in the history of humanity. You know, to meet so many of these young people night after night and hear young brown kids or young gay kids or young trans kids or young white kids see themselves in this character, it makes me feel like I'm doing more than just performing in a musical, you know? And it is the most fulfilling and rewarding thing. And I, to be honest with you, never thought that doing musical theater could feel that way. I just never thought that it would have that what we do could have such a positive impact on so many people. It's really thrilling and exciting to be a part of something like that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what your kind of stage door experience is like, because it's such like this like elation and release after the show ends. I was almost like run over by this girl who was trying to get to you with a picture of design. Is that like an extra show at the end for you?
It feels like an extension of the curtain call. So like a curtain call is like the actors, I view it as the actors' chance to thank their audience for being a part of the conversation, the 2.5-hour conversation. And the stage door is kind of an extension of that gratitude. I love going out there. I love being able to make eye contact with these people and thank them, because this show has in many ways changed my life. This role has in many ways changed my life. And they being everyone who loves this musical and has shared it with their friends. They've had such a hand in changing my life. And so there's this interesting dynamic where, you know, a young person will say, thank you for being such a positive role model. And thank you for inspiring me as a young gay kid. You make me feel like my dreams can come true. Like, I then can say, well, thank you for loving our show because you're the reason why we're here. So it's a nice way to kind of continue the dialogue. You know, I think it's, as someone, again, who grew up without representation, I felt really invisible. And so now to be an adult and to be in a position where young kids feel empowered by this show and feel empowered by my performance, it's like the least I can do. And it really feels quite poetic and full circle for me specifically, you know?
And when you're singing these, you know, empowering songs, Joe Iconis has a really distinct style and sound that your voice is very attuned to. When you work with him, what kind of insight does he give when you're singing into his music?
Joe is probably one of the most trusting collaborators. You know, we've worked on now, Be More Chill was our first musical together, but since we've worked on two other musicals, so there's a total of 3 shows. And in every step of collaboration with Joe, he trusts me fully. You know, I think our initial Be More Chill experience, I can best sum it up with the opening night gift that he gave me in New Jersey. I still have it. It's a Shel Silverstein book. And in the front, he wrote, thank you for Michael. When I watch you on stage, you make me feel like he's a real person. There's like a trust that is earned between the two of us, and we've collaborated on so many things. And so as the composer and lyricist, he is open to my thoughts and my opinions. And it really, I mean, it is like the most beautiful collaboration imaginable. I feel so lucky. I always talk about my work with Joe in regards to like my college experience. So like I was tasked with writing a research paper on Chita Rivera in college. And in my research, I learned that she like was a repeat offender with Kander and Ebb, and that they had created many things together. And I remember reading that and being like, that's so cool. I would love to be able to do that someday. And, you know, I have gotten a chance to do that with Joe. You know, we've made a lot of things together, and we will continue to make things. He's the best. Like if I choose to rephrase something, you know, like the evolution of the show, specifically Michael in the Bathroom, there's some rhythm stuff that I've like kind of played around with, that's different from the way that I sang it at Two River. And I will always pull him aside and be like, hey, is it okay that I'm doing that? And he'll always look at me and be like, yeah, you can do whatever you want. So he's super trusting. And I feel really lucky to get to work with that guy. I think he's completely brilliant. I think he's one of the best, if not the best, he's one of the best musical theater writers of our time. And I'm honored to be able to be in the show that he's making his Broadway debut with.
Yeah. And one of the other things I was curious about how it evolved is that your cast has been together for the most part. Many of them have been there since day one.
Yeah.
What is it like kind of spending that much time creating with a group over such a long period?
I think we're all different people than we were in 2015. Right. And I know I have learned and grown a lot just as a person, emotionally, and then also as an artist, artistically. I've never been around a group of people who just vibe so well. I mean, it really is like an artistic family. We have truly the best time working together. It is a silly group of people, and the rehearsal process was full of truly belly laughs, and I'm constantly impressed by these people. You know, for people who haven't seen Be More Chill, there's this presumption that like I only play Michael, and Lauren Marcus only plays Brooke. But we are the ensemble. It is a 10-person cast, and so in the scenes where like I'm not Michael or Lauren Marcus isn't Brooke, we're playing other characters and we're dancing our asses off. And so, so there's this like there's this feeling of like I feel like we're kind of an army, right? I'm constantly impressed by how committed and full out these 10 people are. It's a really solid cast. And, it's interesting. I made the connection just this past week that my other Broadway show, Godspell, was also a 10-person cast where everyone was on stage the entire time. And like we played multiple parts and there was no ensemble. We were the ensemble. And there's something really, there's a similarity between the cast dynamics of both of those shows in that we all have each other's back. And it is, I feel supported by my cast, both on stage and off. And when you're sweating that much and, foam rolling your muscles out every night with each other, there's like kind of this, there's this unmistakable bond that is created between the actors that is, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love my family and they're the best.
That's awesome. And one thing I know that has changed in all that time is that you got a Drama Desk nomination for The Lightning Thief, which you brought up before. And as we enter Tony season, what is it like being part of a conversation like that when you hear your name mentioned alongside all those other people?
I have to be completely honest. On the subject of the Drama Desk nomination, I slept until 3 that day because I didn't even know that the Drama Desk nominators came to see The Lightning Thief. I didn't know that the nominations were coming out that day. I am so focused on the work and truly so focused on being as present as possible. I was honored to be recognized by my industry with The Lightning Thief, and I continue to feel honored to be talked about and recognized with Be More Chill. I have to tell you that like getting to do Be More Chill off Broadway was a dream come true that I'm still celebrating. Uh-oh. Hold please. All right, I lost you for a second. We're back.
Okay.
I'm still celebrating the off-Broadway run, and then getting to do it on Broadway. I feel like I have to finish celebrating the off-Broadway run, then I can start celebrating the Broadway run. But I am happy to be here, and I'm thrilled to be doing the show. I'm so happy that the show has gotten a second chance and has this life. I am obviously thrilled that people are talking about my performance. It is truly, I've never been more proud of a show and of a performance of mine. I am pouring my heart and my soul and my blood and my sweat and my tears, literally blood. I like cut myself the other day on the shin and was bleeding through a costume. I'm giving like all of myself to this character because I feel like I owe it to our audiences and I owe it to the creators of this show and to my collaborators. And so I'm just really, really thrilled to be doing the show every night, 8 shows a week. Yeah, so, you know, obviously happy to be a part of the conversation. But yeah, I've never been prouder of something before in my life. It's really, it's so far has been a completely life-changing experience. And I hope to continue to be a source of inspiration for young people who don't see themselves in TV and in film and in theater. And, you know, I'm not the only one doing that in this cast. You know, it's a really beautifully a colorful cast. People of all body shapes and sizes are shining so brightly in this show. It's an honor to be part of.
Well, I might get a little bit ahead of myself then, because you're talking about being in the moment, but they just slated, there was talk of Be More Chill becoming a film, having an adaptation on film. Is that something that you would want to be a part of?
To tell you that I would not want to be a part of that would be a complete lie. But I also have to be realistic. You know, the Be More Chill having a second life when it has is truly a blessing of blessings, because I'm 33 years old. I've been in New York for 11 years. I didn't just graduate from college. I am an adult male. And so knowing the journey of films, it will probably take years and years and years for this film to happen. And by then I will probably be in a wheelchair. So I actually don't think I would play Michael Mell in this, but I would kill for a cameo.
Or something.
Yeah, I would kill for a cameo. I always say Dayton Matarazzo is going to be amazing as Michael Mell.
Well, as we wrap up here, I just want to ask you, because this show has had such an impact on young people specifically, what do you hope that people leave the theater with? What's the one thing you hope they take away?
Oh, man. What has become my... Yeah, speaking to Joe Trace, we've had many tearful conversations about this, about seeing, feeling the sensation of being a part of something that has, that is so impactful, and then thinking about, like, my God, how do we go to doing like a show just for money? You know, like how do we work on something that doesn't have some sort of like social impact? And so I don't think, I mean, I would love to spend the rest of my life working on things and creating things that have a similar effect. I hope that people leave, both young and old, truly, because we're all insecure as kids, and we continue to be insecure as adults. I hope everybody leaves empowered to embrace their weirdness, and use their weirdness as a strength. I think that, and I hope that people can be open to the message of our show enough to also, like, just let their, to quote Shrek the musical, let their freak flags fly. I've never quoted Shrek the musical. This is the first time for everything. But truly, I think I hope that everyone leaves feeling empowered and aware that their uniqueness and their differences are a strength.
Well, I think we'll leave it with that, with a great Shrek the Musical quote. And thank you so much, George, for sitting down with me. We wish you the best of luck with Be More Chill and Tony Awards, and everyone subscribe to Gold Derby. We'll keep you abreast of everything going on with Broadway in this coming Tony season. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye, Sam.